I know the most exciting thing in jiu-jitsu, it's the submissions. I get it. So we've been doing a lot of entries. But don't worry, there's still some submissions available that present themselves. So I wouldn't go hunting them because they are more positions of opportunity, but they are there, and I would definitely mix them in with your training partner. Like if you're trying to pass, a lot of times these will present themselves, okay? So let's jump right in. This is one of the most common ones, okay? There's a lot of names for the wrist lock, okay? There's a lot of names for it. Some people call it the devil's handshake. Some people, like one of my students calls it the Steve Irwin because he controls the head of the snake, right? But I have a different name for it. What I like to call it, so I'm going to have Josh next to me so I can show you something. So anytime you talk about a wrist lock, they always say that you have to build a wall behind it to make it work. So I call this the trump because you build a wall and then you make him pay for it. Right? No? Okay. So now we're going to go into that. So we get into this position, and a lot of times the guy will, sorry, I'm going to turn back a little bit. So look right here. A lot of times the person doesn't want you to control this space because they know that maybe you've already passed their guard a couple times, or they just know, hey, if I stay in tight here, I'll make sure that he can't get in this space. So a lot of times people just forget, and they just try to stay in tight like they're supporting this leg, or trying to use this to help them open this leg, or they just try to keep their elbow inside. The great thing is they never think about the wrist lock from here. So a lot of times I'm in here trying to like make him think, oh man, I want his head or whatever, and I'll just come out real quick and boom, okay? Just catch the knuckles, and look, his elbow has nowhere to go because it's trapped between the floor and his body. Now be careful with that one. And that's how I would drill it, okay? If you're going with a training partner you don't like it, all right, maybe go a little faster. But I was saying you drill it, you can drill wrist locks fast but safe. If I just go like that, okay, I'm still simulating that I'm hitting that gooseneck wrist lock, but I'm not really applying it, okay? If I'm going to apply it, I'm going to go slow and like have him tap, okay? But when you hit this one, you got to hit quick. But here's the cool part about it, is that a lot of times, if I don't get it, I'm not worried about it. Because what happens is if I try to hit it, he'll usually straighten his arm. Oh, there's that space I was looking for. And I go inside, okay? So that one is one of the ones that I hit the most often. There's another good one too. Now I'm going to turn Josh this way, okay? And remember, guys, we're moving fast. I'm going to try to cover like 4 submissions. But just remember, you got the remote. You can always rewind and watch as many times as you want to just make sure you get the details down. This next one is a great one when the person has the top or has the underhook on top. Okay, we showed you a couple from butterfly guard, and almost all the butterfly guard ones ended us up in a position where he has the underhook. This feels good to him, but I'm going to take advantage of it. So instead of trying to clear this space on this side, I'm actually going to punch his arm into his chest. So this one that I would wrist lock and want him to get away normally for a pass, I'm actually going to stuff that to his chest, and then I'm going to put my outside knee right on top of it and then take a big step up, putting my heel to the back of his neck and then my knee pointing forward, because now I can put both my hands forward, do a little bit of a corkscrew, pull my leg in front of the head, lift my knee, and we have a nice monoplata, or some people will call it the corkscrew arm lock. Okay, so let's look at it again. Anytime we get into the knee weave where my partner has an underhook, sometimes you might even give it to him. You might be in here controlling, and you give it to him. He feels safe there. I stuff this arm in, bring the outside knee all the way to the shoulder, and then take a big step up. But look how I curve it, kind of like when you're setting up an arm lock for a mount, okay? Now all I'm going to do is put my hands to the ground, keep his arm trapped tight between my ribs and my thigh, corkscrew around, pull my leg in front of his face, and then just lift my knee and straighten my foot. And that's the tap. So there is the monoplata. Now the next one's going to get a little fancy. It's a good one though. And this is a good one when the guy's framing. I'm going to show you 2 options when he's framing. And one of them I think is a little higher percentage and one's a little fancy, but fancy is good too. Some of you might have heard of the Barado Plata, and we're going to basically hit it from here. So when the guy is up here, a lot of times he's like trying to push your head away and frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this arm in and you take this arm and I'm going to help me. Now you got to do it quick because when I'm taking my arm off his arm or his head, I don't want him to be able to belly down or invert. So I'm going to do this fast. I'm going to shove his arm in, keep my hand open. Now I'm going to take a big step over the back of his neck, and I'm going to cover my thigh, and I'm going to keep his elbow. Now I'm going to fall back. Right now, since I'm going slow, I'm going to base. I don't want you to do that. I want you to just fall and not worry about his head. He'll be fine. Just understand that when I go and I fall, your partner is going to be like, oh man, I can get up. And watch what's going to happen. Normally, like I said, I'm going to post because I'm going slow, but I would want you to keep your hand on the arm. I'm going to post, and I'm going to fall and bring my other leg up. As he tries to pass my guard, I put my foot on the hip, and I angle, and it turns into a Barado Plata, basically a Kimura, okay? Watch one more time. He's framing into my neck. I'm going to do it quickly. I'm going to go 1, 2. As I stuff this in, I want to keep this wide because I want it to go over my thigh. If I hide it down here, I'll never catch it. I don't want it to be under my thigh. I want it to be over my thigh. So I'm going to step, hug my thigh, fall. He tries to come up. As he tries to turn, I'm going to wait, put my foot on the hip, and angle out. So as I angle, as I put my hip there, I'm going to let go of his arm. I want to angle this way. Barado Plata. Now that one's fancy. Definitely catch some people off guard. But, you know, you might catch that once and then maybe never again. But this next one's pretty easy. Most of you guys know it. So same thing, he's framing. As long as he doesn't have a grip, all I'm going to do, I'm going to be in here trying to fight and get this hand ready. I'm going to punch this across and shoot in. Now I'm just going to walk the knee out, come all the way over to mount, and I'm going to shoot 3 fingers in and go to my Ezekiel position. I'm going to start to move. Now, if I put him flat, you could go for your head and arm choke. But I'm going 3 fingers in. Remember, this is a sophisticated choke. I keep my pinky out, okay? Come across, and I want to put my chest above it and slide my knee to the top of his head. I squeeze and get the tap. If he's still not tapping, don't worry because I can still chair sit and finish it from the back. I'm sorry, buddy. Okay. Let's look at this from another angle. And you'll be able to see Josh's face look very grape-like. Okay, so I'm in here, and he's framing. I got to get this arm ready because it's going to shoot across. I punch his arm across, and then I'm going right to mount. Now understand, if I knocked him all the way flat, I can start hitting my head and arm choke, but almost always people turn. So I'm going to keep my blade of my wrist right next to his neck. I slide up into a chair sit position, throw my arm in front, and now I extend my chest into him and get the finish. Or I can chair sit, throw the leg over, stretch, and finish. So right there were a few submissions. We had the Trump wrist lock. We had the Mano Plata, or corkscrew, or spiral arm lock. We had the Barado Plata. And then we had a couple of variations of head and arm chokes, head and arm Ezekiel. So again, like I said, that's not all the submissions. There's several. Those are just a few that I see very commonly with people giving those opportunities. But if you find some on your own, feel free to spice it up and add that in. Next, we're going to cover some common problem areas. So we're going to do some troubleshooting on some things. I spent a lot of time in this position, and so I've been able to kind of pressure test what goes right and what goes wrong. And, I have some very crafty teammates and training partners. So, they put me through the ringer so I get to test things out and see, they'll definitely let me know if it's not working. So here's a couple of things that people run into, okay? So the first thing I see a lot of is, this is probably the most common one, is that we talked about this during this, when we talked about the pass to mount. I said, I make the space, I walk the knee down, but sometimes people don't walk it down very much, or when they go in, they don't get the foot flat enough. So as I come through and I commit to mount, he traps my foot. So now I'm basically in 3/4 mount, okay? So don't call this quarter guard. It's 3/4 mount. Okay, so right now I have the underhooks. So I have a couple of great options, right? So right away, whichever side I'm going to pass, I'm going to put my head to that side. I have knee cuts to both sides. So right away, if I'm going to pass to this side, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to pike my butt up, and I'm going to do a really hard rip to the side, but I want to lift my butt in the air, okay? So I don't want to hurt my partner's groin, so I want to make sure that I lift my butt all the way in the air. So I go all the way up, I rip to the side, I drop my knee, hips to the ceiling, pass. Now, we can look at the knee cut to the other side. So it's the exact same thing. So it's saying don't make enough space. I don't want to practice doing this wrong, but I just want to be ready if he starts to catch up. So I go inside, he catches my foot. So maybe instead I put my head on this side. I circle out, catch his arm, pike my butt up, drop it through the middle. And when I drop the knee through the middle, I want to let it slide all the way out, hips to the ceiling, and then it's very hard for him to hold on to my foot when I change that angle, okay? If for some reason though, when he catches that position, this 3/4 mount, but he gets his arms to the inside as he catches it, and he's smart, he brings his arms in, and I feel like, man, I can't really get the knee cut. Or sometimes people will they'll just try to get their elbows in tight, right? So what I'm gonna do in this position is what I call a pommel horse. So I'm gonna block both of his hands, and in a fast movement, I'm gonna throw my leg to the other side and let go, and then drop the underhook. So all I'm gonna do is kick, and now I'm gonna pull up on the arm and pass. So let's look at those three again. This is if, as I make the space and I go to mount, he catches my foot. First one, I have the underhook. Head down, pike my butt up, walk it across, knee to the floor, go to the ceiling. Option 2, I'll just go ahead and start in the position. He caught my foot, I had the underhooks. I put my head to the other side, pike my butt up, cut through, slide all the way out, pull the arm up, take the foot out. And lastly, his arms get to the inside somehow. I'm going to block them for just a second, throw the leg over and drop the underhook. So now as I slide down, I can catch the arm, take the leg out. That's the most common thing I see is people catching the foot on the way to mount, okay? Now let's look at, this one's, the idea is simple, but getting it in real time can be hard, okay? So sometimes people will turtle, and this is a mistake on my part. It could be that I wasn't able to get close to him. You know, he's able to push, but watch what happens. Instead of him like trying to escape out the front and turn towards me, he actually kicks his leg straight, okay? Now here's where I have to be fast, okay? So as he tries to turtle and bring his butt up, I'm handing off, I'm grabbing whatever I can get. And I mean whatever, like whatever you can grab under here. Just grab it and pull, okay? So grab as soon as you can get in here, and then open that elbow and turn him back down and run back in again. But this time, I want you to get tighter, okay? So upon entry, maybe I messed up. And as he frames me away, he pulls his leg out. Right away, as he turtles, I don't want to let him pull this leg back in front. So I hand off the belt to the lapel, and I get up on my toes, and I open my right elbow to knock him back over. Boom. And then I come back in, and then I get tight again. Okay? That one happens a lot for people who feel comfortable escaping by turtling up and using that as a transitional position. The last two are kind of together. It's when your foot staple comes out. Sometimes when you enter, you guys might have noticed during the entries, sometimes when you enter, it's kind of hard to get the foot staple in. You have to fight for it. But in that moment where you're trying to get it, sometimes the person might be able to take advantage of that. So there's two things that could happen, okay? One is when the foot staple comes out, I'm going to show you, I'm going to turn this way so you guys can see the feet, is if it comes out, he'll triangle his legs, thinking that that's a good holding position. But it's not. If I just turn my hips to square and sprawl, watch what happens to his legs. Okay? Now watch again, combined with the pass. When I sprawl and break his legs open, they're really far down, and now I can go right into mount. Okay? Super easy. So, if the leg staple comes out, he triangles his legs. I still have his arm controlled up top. I sprawl right to mount. But the more dangerous option is when he gets my foot staple up and he pushes me and knocks me over. Look, I'm in 411. Terrible. If you don't know what the 411 is, don't worry about it, okay? There's a lot of different names for this position, but either way, just know it's bad, okay? In Japanese, it means bad, okay? But he's got all kinds of leg lock options. So the first thing I need to do right away is I'm going to turn away from him so my knee's pointing away and I hide my heel behind him. Why? Because for him now to attack this leg, he has to go chase it. While he goes to chase it, I'm going to pin his outside leg. and then I'm going to get into like a running man or a sprinter stance. I'm going to post on this leg. I'm going to turn, and I'm going to limp leg out. Ooh, and then come back. And then we can go right there. You see, that's a drill. Then I could go into our butterfly or open guard attacks, okay? Let's look at that again. I'm in here. He frames me away. My foot staple comes out right away. I turn. Look. So as I put my heel back, I'm hiding it from him. So he's really going to have to go for it. I'm going to staple this leg to the ground. I'm going to post. I'm going to turn. And now I'm going to run and pull my leg out. And then just keep on running. Just kidding. I'll come back and fight him. But that's a good way out, okay? So right there, we covered a few different things. We talked about 3 different options. If you get stuck in 3/4 mount, when he catches your foot on the way in. We talked about what happens if they turtle. We also talked about what happens if you lose the foot staple. Either they go to the 411 or you can sprawl. Again, that was a lot of stuff we covered in a very short amount of time. So guys, just remember, hit it on rewind, watch as many times as you need to, and drill it. But we have to cover some of those troubleshooting options because that's some of the most common things that are going to happen to you. Okay, so we've talked a lot in this system about the positional details, how to get there from many common guards. We even talked about troubleshooting. We talked about some common submissions. But one of the important things is how to learn this position better and how to use it. And I think drilling is really important. One of the things I notice when people are really new is they become a technique collector and they just try to acquire as many techniques as possible. And I find that's really, really defeating because then they get frustrated when nothing works. So I think it's much more important for a student to understand like concepts that go across several moves, or like we said, a system where they can see the same move or similar techniques and see those connections from a lot of different places. So with the knee weave, what I recommend is some certain types of drilling. What I would recommend first is, like I said before, reverse engineering. I would take a partner and I would do what I call easy and hard out. I would do any of the entries that you want to work on. And you enter nice and easy that your partner allows, and then you spar. And they try to escape or reverse you, and you try to pass or submit them. And that's a great way to get the nuts and bolts down to the position itself. Beyond that, then you start adding to it a little bit. And what I'd recommend maybe is like a focused flow roll where you and your partner, you flow roll, but you just try to look for the position. And once you find it, you pass or you sweep or you whatever, and you just keep moving. But you flow roll and you will start to see, you'll open your mind to the position. You'll start to see, man, Kyle was right with his DVD. You can see this position and get to it from everywhere. Also, I would recommend doing repeating pattern drills where maybe I start on top, I do an entry from top, and then I pass. Well, now you're in a bad position. Then you can escape using one of the escapes we showed, and you can get to the position after you sweep and escape, and then you're in the knee weave from the bottom. And then now you switch roles. Now I'm the top person. I enter the knee weave and I pass. You escape, sweep, get to the knee weave, and then pass. And then that way we get a ton of repetition in a short amount of time, and we both get to work top and bottom. But I really think that you gotta not try to tackle this instructional in its entirety, like I said in the beginning. Start and just really understand the position deeply, and then as you train, and even if your instructor shows you other positions, you will start to see the connections to anything they show. And I guarantee you'll be able to use this at every stage of your journey from white belt to black belt. First of all, I want to sincerely thank all of you for buying this instructional. I really hope it helps your game, and I really hope I get some feedback from you on maybe some new developments and some techniques you added yourself or created. I really also like to thank God. I'd like to thank my wife and my son, my students for always being supportive, my sponsor, Show Your Roll, the best sponsor in the industry. And I'd also like to give a sincere thanks for BJJ Fanatics for making this all possible. If you guys want to reach out to me, you can find me on Facebook and also Instagram. Feel free to let me know what you think about the instructional. Give me some comments and feedback. Let me know if you came up with some new ideas from that same position. But I really hope you enjoy it and you're able to use it. And thanks again for tuning in.